Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Reframing Eye Care podcast. Today, I have Dr. Stephen Sorkin on our podcast. Welcome, Stephen.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. Looking
Yeah,
forward
it's
to
an
it.
honor to have you on the podcast. I mean, you're an expert in the industry on specialty contact lenses. So I think
Well,
our
thank you.
listeners would really benefit from hearing from you. Um, for those of you that do not know Stephen, he lectures extensively throughout the country and internationally on contact lenses, ocular therapeutics, and corneal disease. He has a special interest in fitting difficult contact lens patients with keratoconus, post-surgical cases, and manages many patients with complex anterior seg conditions. He also serves as president of Essex County Optometrist Association, board of directors for New Jersey Society of Optometric Physicians, a medical advisor, board to International Keratoconus Academy, fellow in scleral contact lens education, adjunct clinical faculty at Salus New England College of Optometry, was named New Jersey Optometrist of the Year in 2018, Preceptor of the Year for PCO in 2025. So that's a pretty good resume there. And again, welcome. It's such an honor to have you and be able to ask you questions on specialty lenses because a lot of doctors are looking to expand on what they do with contact lenses. So, how did you get started? What do you recommend for doctors?
Yeah, I mean, the way I got into it, it sort of fell in my lap. I mean, I always, liked doing contact lenses. I did a lot of corneal GP lenses back in the day, and I kind of partnered up with a cornea doc about 15 years ago. We joined forces, and we were referring back and forth. And I joined the practice. I realized very shortly, right after that, that this was going to be my mission. And that was around the same time that scleral lenses kind of became a thing. We were starting to do them, and we really didn't know what we were doing, to be honest with you, because there really were no resources. I'm sure we'll talk about some of those in a few minutes, but we didn't really have it. So I was just putting lenses on, and I just remember my first patient, my first week there. We were right across the street from a medical center, and the patient that came in from the burn unit. He had been injured in a construction accident. I looked at his cornea and his lids. I said, "Wow, this is pretty bad." And I said, corneal GP lens is not going to work. And I did have a scleral fitting set, so we popped the lens on, and this construction guy just started crying in the chair. And I knew at that moment, my first week in the practice, that this is going to be my thing. And as we know, the last few years, scleral lens have become a huge thing, huge part of a lot of practices. So that was my beginning steps, and I just self-taught, learned a lot of stuff, and thankfully now there's just a lot of great products out there, a lot of equipment and instrumentation that we can use to really help our patients. So that's my
Yeah.
story in a few sentences.
Yeah, no, I think that's what we do. We want to help patients. We want to make a difference. We want to differentiate our practices, right? So for doctors getting started, there's so many lens designs. There's labs. I mean,
Right.
there's so much noise out there. Give us some
Sure.
information on where we can get started.
Yeah, so I mean, I think scleral lenses are very, very popular. And you'll ask my students because they'll say the same thing. They're amazed at how many other things that I do. I mean, there are corneal GP lenses, as I mentioned earlier. They still have a really good, nice role in contact lens care, especially transplants and some patients that can't handle larger lenses. We do a lot of specialty soft lenses for keratoconus and other things, prosthetics as well. But as far as getting started, I mean, looking at your patient base, you do have a lot of people just have patients in their practice that they just may not think are specialty lens patients. Let's say your high SIL patients or your marginally dry eye patients that maybe are not soft contact lens tolerant anymore, even though you've treated them for dry eye. Some patients with scarring, and also obviously keratoconus being a big thing in my practice. So really looking for those patients in your practice, and then going out to other providers, whether it be ODs or MDs, and trying to get referrals for those type of patients. So there are those patients that are out there, and you just have to look for them and be aware, and then start marketing your abilities to those outside providers. And then you'll also find patients within the practice that will self-refer other family members or other friends and family that will come to find you once you're successful with them.
Is there any equipment doctors need to purchase to start fitting these specialty lenses? Is there a big investment in it? Obviously a lot of this equipment helps you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not mandatory. I mean, I would say things like a topographer, and if you're really going to get into specialty lenses, tomographer, like using a specific brand name is Pentacam. There's some other devices out there that image the back surface of the cornea. That's more for management of corneal disease. So really, with specialty lenses, you're not only putting a piece of plastic on the eye, but you are also managing corneal diseases. So if you want to get really involved in doing this stuff, you really need to know how to manage cornea. But to get started, a simple topographer is helpful. You just put a lens on and kind of go from there. Anterior segment OCT can definitely be very helpful. A lot of us have OCTs now, and that is definitely helpful in evaluating the lens on the eye and troubleshooting. And really, when you're getting started, you want to really rely on laboratory consultants because they are really helpful. Even now, I've been doing this for a long time, done thousands of scleral lenses. Once in a while, I'll still need to call the consultant and say, hey, I'm having a problem with this, and can you help me, walk me through this? Because I think they're very helpful. You can send them images, you can send them videos, topographies, whatever, and they will, they'll try to help you through it. So you want to find a lab that really has good consultants and a really good warranty exchange program. Because at the beginning, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to need a little more time. So you need to, allow for that, and you want to have a good lab that does that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What about insurances? Like, do insurances pay for this? Is this out of pocket for patients? How do you bill? When did you learn all these things?
Yeah, I mean, when you lecture, like I do, this is probably one of the biggest questions that I get from the stage, because this is a topic that is very challenging because our patients are frustrated, we get frustrated, and everybody's blaming us that we did something wrong. But the idea is medically necessary contact lenses. We understand it's medically necessary. The patient understands it's medically necessary. The insurance company may even know that it's medically necessary, but they may not want to cover it. And that's because medical insurance is very specific on what is in your plan, what is covered. Like if you need a knee replacement, let's say, and for some reason a knee replacement is not in your insurance plan, you're not getting covered. Same thing with specialty lenses. So you really need to read your contracts. This happens even with vision plans as well. A lot of us take, vision plans as well. So it can be frustrating for everybody. So you don't want to lose money. That's the idea. You want to be aware of what the plans cover, what they don't cover, and don't be afraid. I see people all the time, especially on social media. What is my insurance? What does the insurance cover? Don't be afraid to say to the patients, I'm sorry, it's not our fault. The insurance doesn't cover this. It's out of pocket. This is how much it costs. And if you want to proceed, go ahead and do that. I think as a profession, we're very afraid to ask patients for out of pocket things. I think some of that's being broken down by some of the dry eye treatments that we have, that are out of pocket. But for materials and professional stuff, it's something that if the patient needs it, and they will find a way to do it if they want to go ahead with it.
Yeah. So, when I try to add something to my practice, I make sure that I have a patient base to add, right? Mm-hmm. To add new services. A lot of companies will say, hey, if you have the equipment, the patients will come. I haven't found that. I've advertised. Mm-hmm. I feel that it's easier to scale on something if you have the patient base. How have you grown your specialty practice over the years? I mean, obviously, if you have a relationship with ophthalmology or people sending to you, that's great. But doctors that have smaller practices, do they go out right away and get all the specialized stuff?
No, I mean, a lot of times you really can't do that. You have to start somewhere. You'll get a few successes under your belt and then try to move out from there. When I first joined the practice, I went out, I took a half a day or a day a week, and I visited practices. I pounded the pavement, went in with business cards and brochures and said, hey, this is what I can do. If this is not something you offer in your practice, this is something that I offer. You'll get the patient back for their primary care. You'll get your patient back for everything else. I'm going to do the contact lens, and that's it. And, that's how I kind of built my practice up, sort of word of mouth in that way. And that helped, move the momentum in the right direction.
Yeah. But if doctors want to do scleral lenses and maybe they don't have some referrals from outside sources, what do they look for in their practice to know that it is something that they can afford or add more value to their practice? How many patients do you think they need to have?
Yeah, I think there's internal marketing as well. Whether how you do that. e-blasts or marketing within the practice, brochures, talking it up is helpful. Trying to get the word of mouth to your existing patients that you do offer these procedures or these you know, contact lens evaluation and specialty lens care.
Yeah. When you do external marketing, what have you found that was beneficial? Was it Google Ads? Did you do some patient testimonials on Facebook? What have been some things that you've kind of done to kind of outreach
Yeah,
for
I
new
mean,
patients?
you could probably, elaborate as well. I think some of that stuff is going by the wayside nowadays. I mean, maybe a few years ago it was more helpful, but I think just for me, it's more word of mouth and getting my name out there. To me, that's been much more valuable than doing that kind of marketing. But it can be helpful depending on your patient population and your practice type.
Yeah, I found that new patients that come to my practice, regardless of what they're coming for, usually they come because of, the new word of mouth is Google reviews.
Hmm.
And Google reviews are important.
Right.
So I think if you have a specialty practice, have those specialty patients, comment on
Yeah.
what you've done, that specialty, and maybe with it, you get some of there too. I have the new word of mouth as well. But I
Yeah.
think
Agreed.
yeah, I think that's important too for doctors because it takes time, right? How long did it take you to kind of really grow? It took a while, right, to get to
Mhm.
this point. So
Oh
and
yeah.
then for doctors that want to quit, how long they got to get into it?
Yeah. It can be discouraging, especially when you first get started, because if you're still learning the ropes, you're spending a lot more chair time. You're like, wow, I could have seen two or three, regular patients in that period of time, and wow, I'm spending a lot of time and a lot of chair time, return visits. But it's a learning curve, and I've been doing this for years, and I still learn as I'm going. The new things, and technology and knowledge and tech and designs, and the labs are doing wonderfully with adding special add-ons to these lens designs that we did not have 5 or 10 years ago. So it just the area just continues to evolve and improve over time.
Yeah. Doctors that want to get started, where do they learn? How did you learn your skills and develop over the years? I mean, I know there's a lot of conferences,
Yeah.
webinars,
Mhm.
I mean, where would be like something to get started for doctors that kind of
So now,
want
I
to
mean,
learn?
I always offer anybody who wants to come shadow me. So if you want to find a doc in your area that wants to shadow you, I'm always happy to have fourth year students or new grads or residents or whomever just come in and hang with me for a day or two. I'm always available via text or call if anybody has any questions. And I have fourth year externs in my practice, so I teach them a lot of that stuff too. But just as far as what we have now, there's conferences that come up all year round. We just had Academy a couple of weeks ago. AOA has great stuff, both didactic and workshops. A really good meeting coming up in January is the GSLS meeting, which happens every January in Vegas. So that's a really good one because they have different levels of expertise. So they have new learners to advanced lectures and workshops that people can get into. And nowadays, especially online, there's just so many different lectures and resources. A lot of the laboratories will put on their own events, either workshops or webinars as well. And the idea is to expand your horizons and try to learn as much as you can, and obviously dovetail along with corneal disease because you're treating these patients with medical conditions. You want to know what the proper approach is to treat them, and both contact lens wise and medically as well. So that's the availability of a lot of these things is really expanded over the last few years for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources out there. I know when I kind of looked at into it, they had a lot of webinars, events, and then also sometimes um, the local rep who used to fit in an office was a
Mhm.
rep for one. She would come in and help us with a patient and troubleshoot. So I think there's
Yeah.
a lot of resources out there, and even so, troubleshooting. Sometimes we just take a topography on some specialty lenses,
Mhm.
gas, and we send it to the lab, and they're pretty well situated. It really does help, and they warranty a lot of things too. Not that I'm no expert, I'm a beginner, but I mean, there's resources for a lot of us out there
Yeah.
to kind of help these patients. And a lot of
Yeah.
the advanced stuff I do send to a local optometrist that she loves doing scleral lenses, and that's what she does. And I'm happy to send it to her because it's best for the patient too. And she refers back.
Yeah, I mean, the idea what you just said is right for anything. We really need to look into OD to OD relationships and referring back and forth. I just had one of my keratoconus patients a couple of days ago was complaining about some near vision problems, and we just did a cover test and found out she was a CI. So I said we're going to send that patient out to a local OD who does vision therapy. So we really should be able to work within our profession. We don't have to always refer out to ophthalmology. Let's refer to colleagues that that you're comfortable working with, and I think that's great. Another organization I probably should mention is the Scleral Lens Education Society.
Yes.
They also, because I'm one of the fellows, so they do great. They do webinars pretty much monthly. They do workshops as well. They're at all the big meetings. So that's another great organization. And then contact your laboratory, as you said. Some of the consultants will go into your practice. You line up 2, 3, 4 patients. You guys can work together, see how things are done. They can give you a lot of really good tips. And then they sometimes will put on more regional workshops as well, where they'll get 15, 20, 25 docs together. They'll do like a didactic lecture, and then also have hopefully patients lined up, or at least fit each other, so you can kind of get comfortable with with the approach of fitting scleral lenses. Because one of the challenges is that each lab has their own way of fitting or their own nomenclature, so that sometimes can get a little confusing. So I usually tell docs that you should probably start with one lens design first, get comfortable with that one, and then you'll find that you may need other designs for certain other things. But get started with one company, make sure you're comfortable with them and what they can do, and then you kind of move along from there.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to contact you, is there an email they can reach out to you?
Sure. It's S Sorkin, so no dots, S Sorkin at cornealassociates.com. I'm also on social media like LinkedIn and Facebook and all that fun stuff.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, talking about your experience and kind of, giving some, inspiration to some people that want to get started on something like this. They might feel like it's a heavy lift, but kind of breaking it down, making it simple, and showing that there are a lot of resources out there and a lot of mentors too, to kind of help guide doctors along the way, because at first it is hard. It is a little messy, but it gets easier, right? I think we all make failures and mistakes. So
100%. Yeah. It's just keep on plowing along, and definitely reach out to others to try to help you, get through that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Stephen.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the conversation. Thank you.